All right, welcome to week 3 of semester 2. If you're watching this, it's because you were absent on one or multiple days. This week is a 4-day week, and next week is as well because you have a 4-day weekend. You have no school this Friday, and then the following Monday, you have no school because it is President's Day. And as always, if you have questions after watching this, shoot me an email or see me at school if you come back, and I would love to help you. So this week we are starting off our week talking about forecasting because English is the only core class, the only class in general, but especially the only core required class that is required all 4 years. So they're having us talk about it so that they can reach everybody. So if you have questions about that or did not get your transcript, email your counselor, but then you can ask me questions if you need to. We're going to be talking about advertising this week, and then giving you a heads up as to a mini project that you're going to be working on that I think is going to be super fun. And then we are going to watch a TED Talk to practice our analyzing skills and being able to look at an argument, kind of deconstruct it, and pinpoint some strategies that are used. Okay, let's see. So, the point of advertising is obviously several things other than just like making money to get your name out, to make people aware of your product, and to convince them as to why you should buy your product. This part we did in class as an in class activity, so you don't really need to worry about it in the slides. So, we'll just skip past it. It's looking at all these ads and kind of making some observations. This is where you will need to take some notes. So anytime you see one of these little rectangles, fill in what you have here, because it's empty on your slides. I'm not going to play the videos in this video because that would take too long. But essentially what we're doing the first half of this week is taking some notes on different strategies that are used with advertising. A lot of these are extremely specific to advertising, but they are still persuasive techniques and we can still learn from them. So, number one is fear. This is when you are taking a scary situation, something that you want to avoid, and kind of using that to drive fear as a way for consumers to buy a product. A lot of the times, you're going to find that this will happen with like insurance commercials or anything that really has to do with safety or health. So, you can take a look at those videos on your screen. The next one is bandwagon. This is everybody's doing it. All the cool people are doing it. Everybody has this product. If you don't have it, you're missing out. You don't know. This technique really works when you're targeting it towards the younger generations because everybody wants to fit in and feel like they know what's going on. The older you get, I feel like the less people care about that stuff, but bandwagon is pretty effective. Next, we have testimonial. This is probably one of the most common strategies that you'll see. If you watched the Super Bowl this last weekend, you'll see it in basically all the commercials. This is when you're taking a famous person to endorse a product or even another person. The funny thing about this is that it's kind of a form of ethos. If you remember, we talked about ethos and how traditionally, when you use ethos in an argument to be persuasive, you're showing somebody who is experienced, they have education and training, they're very knowledgeable. With celebrities, they don't even have to like have any experience or knowledge or even like background in something that they are endorsing. A lot of times they will pair that, like in this Trey Young commercial for Adidas, but sometimes what they're endorsing has absolutely nothing to do with the person itself or like what they have maybe proper training in. So um, it's very convincing though because they're famous and likable, as in this example is Zendaya. So that is testimonial. Next, we have loaded words. This is when you take vocabulary, specific words, you make specific choices to create a specific intended effect. Usually, that effect is going to be like bringing up some negative connotations. And we'll talk about another strategy that kind of does the opposite. So, if you look at this list, you'll see that essentially they're talking about the same thing as you go down, but they're very different ways of phrasing it or different context in which you might say it. So, very, very specific. Next, we have repetition, which is exactly as it sounds. You're repeating something over and over again. We see this a lot with slogans, catchy jingles, things that kind of get stuck in our head over and over again. Then we have plain folk. This is a strategy where you try to appeal to just the everyday person. They're not famous, they're not rich and wealthy. You can relate to them, you can relate to the situation. So if you watch these ads, these are good examples of that. Then we have transference. This is when it's basically loaded words, but the opposite. So we are trying to make good, positive connotations. You'll see this with political campaigns or speeches where everything that you see in that is very intentional. The flag pin on his shirt or his suit jacket, the flags in the background, the colors, all of it is so intentional and it's transparent. You're making specific choices to make people feel good. You'll see this a lot with medication commercials because you're trying to paint a picture of what your life could be like if you have a certain medical condition and then you get on this medication for it. This is what you could look like. So watching this example is really helpful to see. So in this, you're going to watch this example and then tell me what you notice. Next one we have is beautiful people, which is often paired with testimonials and celebrities. This is when you're trying to be persuasive to sell a product by showing beautiful people, models, just, good looking actors and actresses. They're using a product, endorsing it. A lot of times you'll see things or products that have to do with like wealth and luxury, really fancy things. So you can watch these two commercials to get an idea of that. And then the rest of these you do not have on your slides. It's because there's nothing for you to write, but I want to show them to you, or at least talk about them. Relevancy is all about kind of appealing to the younger generations, what's in, what's trending. A lot of times you'll see commercials for things like insurance, and then they kind of weave in like, oh, there's a new Marvel movie coming out, and they hook that into their commercial to get you excited because you're like, oh my gosh, Spider-Man, and then you realize it's an insurance commercial. Nike land on Roblox, pretty current, I guess. Nostalgia is also really powerful. If you target the older audiences, the older generations, this is very impactful. Anything that provides that sentimental, emotional aspect, good memories is very, very persuasive. Humor is a big one. This is one of my personal favorites. If you can make me laugh, I'm way more inclined to listen or to be persuaded to what you have to say. And then storytelling, which is when you kind of captivate your audience, instead of just immediately making it all about the product, you tell a story and then at the very end you come in and say, oh, and here's this product. So these are two really, really good examples. So that is our notes on advertising. For my honors students, I talked with you in person, but if you were gone for that day, you can check this out on Canvas and then ask me questions if you need, but there's an honors assignment connected to this. So, day 2 of this week, we're going to have some independent reading time. We have a first chapter Friday, which is going to be on Wednesday and Thursday because there's no school on Friday. And it is I Am Number 4. If you want to watch the trailer for the movie, you can. The movie is not super great, but it gives you a good idea of what the book is all about. And then this is for my 4th period class. 5th and 6th, you already did this, so please skip this slide. 4th period, you're actually going to do this on a handout. You are going to look at this website called procon.org, and you are going to take 20 minutes to explore the different topics that are available, because this is going to help us with the paper that we are eventually going to write. And I want you to write down your top 5 most interesting topics, because I'm going to give you a lot of freedom to pick what you want to write about. So this will give you some good ideas. And then to kind of recap what we learned about with persuasive techniques, we're going to watch this commercial and you are going to list all of the persuasive techniques that you find being used in the commercial. Okay, so now we need to talk about our Super Bowl ad project. We've learned about advertising techniques. We've learned about other persuasive techniques like ethos, pathos, logos, the 5 different types of evidence. So we're going to use all the knowledge that we have to make a persuasive argument via a Super Bowl ad. This is an example. I'm going to give you 2 options of what you could do. You are going to pick either, we'll add this in as I'm talking, video ad. So you get to make a choice. You can choose to make a video ad, or you can choose to make a print ad. This is an example of a print ad. It's one that I made on Canva. So I'm going to show you the rubric in just a second to give you an idea as to like what it might look like. And then I'll show you some examples as well, or I'll link them. So let's go to the rubric. So here's what's happening. If you're choosing to do a magazine ad like the one on that slide I just showed you, this one, you are picking any product that you want. By the way, for either choice, you're going to do a graphic organizer, which I'll show you in class. If you're choosing to do a magazine ad, you are going to do it either on canva.com or some sort of hand created one, whether that's like a collage of pictures printouts that you have, or if you like to draw and paint and you would prefer to do that, you can. But it has to be one of these two things. I do not want you to use a Word document because it's just not going to look the way that I want it to. And we've used Canva before, so at this point you should be, if not comfortable, at least familiar with it. And then here is everything that you need to know about what I'm looking for. If you are choosing to do the video, it needs to be 30 to 60 seconds, no more and no less. It needs to include images. There needs to be a script. So you can look through this. This is all linked on Canvas. The thing to know about your choice, if you choose to do the print ad, this is an individual project. You cannot partner up with anybody. If you choose to do the video ad, you can do it by yourself if you want to, but I'm giving you the option with the video to do it in a small group of people or with a partner. That does mean that you still all have to turn in work individually to show me that you participated, other than just like being in the video. But we can talk about that if you have questions. So with the print ad, it has to be individual on your own. The video ad, you can do it by yourself or you can choose to do it in a small group. So some examples, they're linked on Canvas if you want to watch them. I had 3 examples to show, from one from this last year, and then one from this year, 2 from last year. The other thing I need to tell you, if you had me last year over Zoom and you remember doing this project, you're still going to do it again, but you cannot reuse what you had last year, and you need to pick either a different option or a different product. So if you did the video ad last year, I'm going to ask you to do the magazine ad, or you can do another video, but it has to be an entirely different product. So I'm going to challenge you to do that. And if you have questions, talk to me. On the handout that I give you, which obviously if you're gone in class, come talk to me about it. You're going to tell me which one you're planning on doing and what product you think you want to advertise. We won't start working on it until next week. Okay, the last thing for this week, week 3, is our TED Talk. So I have a question. How do you know when someone is trying to persuade you? Think about that for a second. Persuasion does not always come in the form of like heated arguments or controversial topics. I think a lot of times when we think about persuasion and argument, we think about these highly controversial topics, these polarizing sides. And yes, that is very common, but sometimes you can have an argument be present and you can persuade someone in a way that doesn't feel very like dramatic and escalated. You can have persuasion with any topic as long as you're trying to convince somebody of your point, even if it's not like this is my side versus this side. So I'm going to give you an example of that. You are going to watch the first 8 minutes. This is a much longer video than that, but the first 8 minutes of this TED Talk. This is Adam Driver. If he looks familiar, it's because he's an actor and he's known for a lot of things, but more recently he was Ben Solo in the Star Wars sequels. You're going to watch this video, the first 8 minutes, and then you're going to answer these questions on the right. And then after that, you should be done with the slides. If you have any questions, especially since we took lots of notes and I started telling you about the Super Bowl project, please let me know.